right, motion to approve the June 3rd and July 16th minutes. Second.
Who's second?
Second. Second. And Judy.
June 3rd minutes. Which one's the June 3rd?
I think our June 3rd, no.
Out there?
Actually, it looks like June 3rd was already.
Was it approved last night?
All right, then just July 16th.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Excuse me. We already have a motion in the second, except for
Oh, for the 16th?
yeah. We'll take it as a no. All right. Any discussion? No, just flipping through papers. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstain? Abstain, Jim, Ken. All righty. Okay, so we will go to Alan and the board meeting update.
Okay.
Good time was had by all.
We'll take a look at the schedule and see where we are, the current status of August 20th. And we did get a front row center seat at the August 6th Board of Directors meeting at the MSBA. Demand for our presence there. And Mark and Jim and Jennifer and Chris were in attendance here. Did a good job presenting, and we got approved despite some controversy by one of the board members. So success. We're in schematic design. We got approved for schematic design.
Actually, I've got the contract revising the expiration date of April period 2016 for this building stuff.
Right, great. So the design team is working hard on the schematic design, as you can see from where we are in current status on the project schedule. We did have conversations with both estimators, PM&C and AEG Fogarty, and they don't need 4 weeks to do their schematic design estimate. They need 2 weeks. So we're going to give a little bit more time to the design team to develop the documents as more detailed as possible. So the more detail we get into that before it goes to the estimators, the better the number's going to be, the more they can look at. So we're going to turn them over to the estimators on October 2nd, which is a Friday, and we're going to get them back from them on the 16th, was it? And we're going to hold a reconciliation meeting on the 20th with them, at which point in time we'll pull together those two estimates, reconcile them to everybody's satisfaction, and then put together a what's called a 3011. It's the total project budget here from those estimates, and that's what gets submitted to the MSBA on December 1st for review. And that's a big number because that locks in your project funding agreement with the MSBA. So it's a very important estimate that we're looking at from the estimators at schematic design. And that's the number we also take out to the voters for the vote in February and March. Any questions on? That's about all I have to report.
All right.
Great. Anyway, quick summary of where we've been and then where we are today. So we'll go over some plan changes that have been made since the last time we saw you, and the massing we've developed a little bit further. Some massing options that we'd like to go over with you. We have 2 options that we brought tonight. And then we'll go into a little bit more detail to show you kind of a rough idea of our furniture plan in the classroom. We're planning on meeting with the teachers in the near future with select staff members to talk about, these are called room data sheets. It's a requirement of the schematic design package that goes to the MSBA. And it helps inform the cost estimate. It talks about how much built-in casework we're going to have in each classroom, where the sink's going to be, what type of furniture we want in there, what the electrical requirements are in each room. So they're very helpful as we go forward. And then much later in construction documents, we'll keep using these room data sheets to make sure that we're still on the right track with what the staff and teachers want. So for the overall plan, just to remind you, this is where we were at the preferred schematic report that went to MSBA. The last time we met, about a month ago, we went through 4 options. There were kind of 2 areas that seemed to be preferred by the committee. One was to have this kind of more open lobby that the gym could open right up into, and kind of a generous entry. And there was some interest in kind of this massing on the end of the building there, and this openness that's shown in the floor plan here on 2B. We've since revised it. We met with the superintendent and the principals and showed them kind of a draft. When was it? 3 weeks ago or so, 2 weeks ago. And we pushed it a little further since then. So largely responded to the comments we heard from the committee last time. The renovation scope and approach has stayed relatively the same. We have shipping and receiving where the boiler room is today, and we have a new mechanical room in the new addition. And talking to our mechanical engineers, that seemed to make more sense with the phasing as well. We cleaned up some of these areas so that there were kind of like little smaller rooms kind of thrown in there for the preferred schematic report. It's a little bit cleaner and more well organized. We had classrooms in this area that we took out so that this courtyard could get a little bit larger, approximating the size of the West Street courtyard. Not quite that large, but definitely large enough where it could serve as an outdoor classroom space, potentially even for 2 or 3 classrooms. And then a smaller interior courtyard here that could also be served as an outdoor classroom, but much more intimate. And we're talking with Berkshire Design Group on how to kind of program these 2 courtyards differently. Perhaps this one will have more hardscape, since it will be a little bit more difficult to maintain. And this one will have more of a open grass and trees. A big change that we just did is we moved the door from the end of the hallway here to where it seemed to make more sense to where the playground areas are going to be. Again, we're kind of planning on a younger playground here, and then a playground oriented more for the older grades to the north there. So that seemed to make a lot more sense, and it helped us save some square footage circulation-wise and still have a nice spread of special education classrooms throughout. We are starting to look at how to approach these classrooms, and so we'll show you some ideas tonight. We'd love your input. I think we'll get a lot more input when we talk to the staff and teachers when we're talking about the room data sheets. Any questions on the floor plans? I think you guys have copies too.
The playground, will that be a distraction for the 3rd and 4th grade kids if there's a playground right outside those windows?
I don't think so. We'll definitely try and think about a buffer. I mean, we have the same situation now where the playground's to the north of these classrooms.
Yeah.
So it was a concern of ours, but I think we have enough room over there that we'll be able to.
And the other thing in terms of the courtyards, I think they're a great idea, but I know that they can be a pain to maintain. And if we don't really have a plan.
Well, that's why we talked about hardscape for this one
Yes.
up here, and then put in planter boxes or whatever. And this one, there'll be an entrance here,
Right.
and so to get a lawnmower across the hall would be a big deal.
And as far as the playgrounds, we have our playground right outside our K1 wing, and it really is kind of
I'm assuming that the music and stage is raised up, and that's this ramp is out here?
Correct. Yep. So we still have to figure out exactly how much we can raise that. We're trying to avoid lifts wherever possible. That's always a solution that can be used if you're in a crunch for space. But we're trying to get the music and stage to be raised, and that it would just be accessed from one ramp from the general public area.
And we're showing a ramp for the existing platform as well. We had been showing a lift over there too, but it looks like we can
Right. We're going to
get the
try
ramp work there.
and squeeze the ramp where there are stairs currently. Just demolish those stairs and put a ramp in anyway. So,
It's not a problem leaving the room to get to the ramp, to get to the stage? To get barriers for it?
that's a good question. I mean, we thought it was more accessible because, everyone who accesses the stage from the public would use that same entrance, but that's a good question.
Johnny gets on board, he's got to go out and back in again.
Right.
That's questionable whether the barriers were put. I'll put it in your court.
And the gym is very prominent, right? It's right up front, which is a good thing because it's going to be a lot of, but it becomes very prominent.
Right.
So as you build out, as you design the admin offices, it's important to make sure people know, because there's a lot of schools that you never quite know where the admin office is. It looks, people need to know that's where I'm going. That's where the entrance is.
Right. You'll see some of that in our massing, and really trying to accentuate this front entrance. We have included 2 covered entrances. Again, in talking to Judy and Jennifer and Deb, it seemed to make sense. Let me go forward, actually. With the site plan, we have responded to the suggestions last time that seemed to favor having the car drop off and parking here, and the bus drop off to the side of this entrance here. I really think that helps kind of this circulation area, whereas before we were kind of mixing buses and cars for that little circulation loop. And we have plenty of room here for a nice long queue for the buses. What's nice about how the school is organized right now is that it gives the school a little bit of flexibility on how you want to handle both arrival and dismissal at the end of the day. The idea is that right now all the car drop-off would happen here and would come in the front door. And that bus drop-off, depending on the age group, could either send kids in here through the middle of the school or, again, towards the front. And that could be, juggled by or changed by the school administration. The idea being that maybe 3rd through 6th grade could get dropped off further up and come in this way and be closer to their classrooms. And kindergarten through 2nd grade could go ahead and use that front door. Once school is in session, that door would be locked and only the main front entrance would serve as your one secure entry and exit. And then similarly for dismissal, we also have some flexibility of using 2 different areas to dismiss the students.
And currently there is a two-way entrance and exit out of East Meadow anyway. There's a bus drop-off and then there's a parent drop-off. Both are staffed, so that's part of the duty schedule, so that would just continue.
I don't know if there were too many other changes from the site plan, other than kind of formalizing this area and the front drop-off. One thing we're still figuring out and talking to our consultants about is kind of where all of the back of house items go, which is difficult always in a school, and I think especially with this one because there isn't really a back side of the school that's still accessible, to maintenance vehicles and things like that. So figuring out an area for dumpsters, a generator, transformer, pad, and all of that. Mechanical equipment, I think most of the mechanical equipment will probably go on the roof of the building, but some of it might go on the ground, and we'd like your input on that. But with this becoming the shipping and receiving room, we think we can screen this area pretty well. It is kind of the back of house area for East Meadow right now, so it kind of continue in that same vein. And then we would probably also have some in here because the mechanical room is right in that corner of the building. Any questions on the site plan or the floor plan at this point? So, zooming in a little bit further into our classroom wing. Right now, we're showing kind of a variety of different arrangements, and this is something where again we take input tonight, and I'm sure we'll get much more input when we present it to the teachers and staff. But thinking about how these rooms could share space through or share their classroom spaces through an open space in between them. At the very beginning of the project, when we met with Frank Locker, there was some interest in having classrooms that were a little bit more of an L shape. But it does present some issues in terms of getting daylight back in here. And is the teaching wall different for this classroom and this classroom? Is it better if the classrooms are exactly symmetrical? So this is some of the feedback that we hope to get in early September when we meet with the teachers. Right now, again, all of our kindergartens and pre-K classrooms will have a bathroom. Within those classrooms, first and second grade will use a shared gang bathroom. We talked about, potentially sharing those bathrooms between classrooms, but it seemed like the district would prefer an individual accessible bathroom within each of the classrooms. Those are some of the kind of thoughts. We're also starting to add, rooms like IT rooms and electrical rooms and, mop closets and things like that. So we're starting to fill in and struggling to keep the square footage where we had it at the PSR, but we are very close. We're within 100 or 200 square feet. So I think we're doing much better than we were a few weeks ago.
Sure, so we keep referring to these room data sheets. This is kind of taking what Christian just showed you with the classrooms one step further. And again, this is what we'll bring to group meetings that we'll have with Deb and Jen and representative teachers and staff members to get their input. But this just kind of illustrates the level of detail we need to go to kind of figure out where things happen in a room, which then affects the shape of the room, as Christian has already said, and where daylight will penetrate into classrooms and where teaching might occur. So again, this is just one example of one pair of classrooms. We happen to have picked the pre-K classrooms. This is just illustrating the shared space, how that might be used, and we did get a little bit of feedback when we met with Deb and Judy and Jen, again 3 weeks ago, about maximizing the openness between the rooms with also the ability to close them off. Again, being able to use this space for small group projects or one-on-one tutorials or help sessions that could occur. And again, these two are slightly different in that we're showing an option on the right, which when we get into the massing options, you'll see this particular option assumes a teaching wall up at the corridor side because we'd be able to bring in light at about this distance from the teaching wall. We'd also have windows, they're not shown yet in the plans, down here. So again, where the natural light is coming in and how the room would be set up would be affected by what massing option we choose. So this one just happens to have a teaching wall up the corridor side, whereas this option shows it on the side. All the classrooms would have cabinets with sinks, small closets. In the case of pre-K, it'd be cubbies. In the older grades, we'd have hooks. And, again, just kind of showing different zones and how those might play out once we figure out our massing and meet with the teachers.
Any questions on that? We were also asked to look at the seating in the cafeteria. It was one of the concerns that, right now there's a certain amount of storage that happens within the cafeteria, so it feels a little bit smaller, especially the gym, than you might think. So we wanted to make sure that we can fit 150 students in that space. And with this organization of oval and circular tables, we can see we have some space open for ADA seating. And then down here with the dashed lines, if we fold all those tables up, that's the amount of space they would require all folded up and wheeled off to the side there.
Is the platform the current stage in this now, is that right?
Correct. Yeah, so that would stay there. We're still discussing with our structural engineer, but there's an idea to try and put modern fold wall or some kind of folding wall there so that you can have a certain degree of sound privacy between those two spaces so that the platform could also be used for, a music room during the day.
Because that probably would be where instrumental music would happen versus the other place being a general music space.
Okay, so massing. So we have two options. We kind of distilled down what we presented last time and brought a little bit further along in development. But basically, we have one where it's more mirroring the existing conditions at East Meadow and showing a lot of flat roofs. And then another where we have some sloped roofs, which allows us to provide some daylighting kind of further into the classroom, as Helen was saying. So the kind of the shared spaces pop out from the building and kind of allow us to break up this facade a little bit of what would otherwise be a fairly long building. You can see the administration and the front entry is nice and prominent out front. So the main entry here, administration off to the side. In this version, we kind of picture the gym with a number of high clear-story windows that would really let in a lot of daylight during the day and also kind of serve as a beacon at night with the lights being on. We did, just because we've run into this before, for now we dropped on some very ugly, very large air handling units onto the roof because they always happen. And it's nice to ignore them at the beginning, but it's better not to. So we've hidden 3 of them kind of behind the gym there. That's our mechanical space and our stage. It's likely that these wouldn't have to be quite as large, but our mechanical engineer did mention that he would need at least 1 or 2 out in the classroom wing. There are ways you can put screening up around it so that it's not so apparent. It's also, we've tried to move it towards the back of the building so that from the front at the ground level, you wouldn't see it quite as much, but it's something to consider. This is option 2, where actually we kind of have a combination of flat roofs and shed and kind of a gable. So both of these are pitched roofs at this lower height. And then, as Helen mentioned, this is kind of a line of clear-story windows that's about just beyond halfway into the classroom, maybe 2/3 into the classroom. What's nice about this is that with the daylighting, you should be able to get some nice high daylighting that could help daylight your teaching area, your teaching wall. And then, of course, those windows would be controllable with some kind of shade so that you could darken it and use your smart board or your projector as necessary.
Right above the lower roof line there?
Then
Just below the
Up above.
right here,
Oh,
right, are the windows. So on the ends, we didn't think we needed them quite so much because this is a corner classroom, so it's going to have windows on both sides anyway.
that's typically where snow drifts happen.
Where a wall comes up from a roof, you mean?
Yeah, especially the south side there. Yeah.
Right. So we did make sure to try and have these windows. I think right now they're at least 1.5 feet off of that roof. It's also a sloped roof, so I think that'll help a lot. And certainly in terms of structural considerations, our structural engineer is already thinking about snow loads and drifting.
Wouldn't option 2 be naturally more expensive because of the windows and the need to cover them and be able to manipulate them for darkness?
It might be. I think in general, with the sloped roof as opposed to a flat roof, the building costs could be a little bit higher. I don't think it would be significantly different over the scope of an entire school, but
Is that light for the classrooms there, or is that going to be into the hallway between the classrooms?
right now what we're envisioning this is light for the classrooms.
On the south side?
Correct, on both sides. So let me go back there.
Both sides.
So that clear story, so we have a sloped roof here, and then we have a clear story here. So that's bringing light into that back area of the classroom. One option that we thought of is to have then some borrowed lights up above the teaching wall so that you get some of that borrowed light into the hallway. But yeah, these windows are specifically to get daylight deep into the classroom.
Only the classroom's on the front side, not the back side of the car.
No, they would be on both sides. So we're only showing the south side, but this section of flat roof goes all the way along, so it would be a mirror condition on the north side of that classroom wing as well.
Thank you.
Yeah.
To some experience, the rooms on that side get very, very warm, you know, from when the weather gets warm until it cools off a bit,
Right.
as it does in the high school too, I'm sure. But-
Right.
So I'm just saying that we're not a lighting expert, but it's cost-wise too, if you could have less windows, that still might give enough light, but also might keep the solar heat down too.
Well, what's nice about the orientation of East Meadow as it stands now is it's very close to due south. And so right now in both the high school and East Meadow, there's no overhangs on the south side. And that's why you're getting all of that heat in. So we have overhangs both here. I think we're looking at a 1.5 or 2 foot overhang. You can also notice that we put in a little shading element here on these windows on the south. And if you can block off that direct sunlight there, it really cuts down on the amount of heating that will come into the classroom.
Plus the trees that are there presently, they've gotten bigger in many years, those have also
Those will help.
helped.
Yeah.
But those are probably coming down because they're moving away.
Right. I mean, the nice part about it being due south is that you can put that shading element on, and you know, you'll cut out all direct sunlight. You know, you can extend the shading element to however far you need, but you can basically cut out all the sunlight when it's hot, and then still you're getting some direct sunlight in the winter months when the sun's a lot lower in the sky.
I'd be really interested to hear what the teachers and administration, the people that are in this building all day, what they have to, you know, think about the windows. Their opinion is super important.
It's really nice in a classroom to get some outside light. Those fluorescent lights are really, they're awful. They're really,
Do you
it's not
think
great
that
lighting.
though, do you think, when it comes to like warmth and light, better to be a little hot and have more light?
No, you gotta be more comfortable when it's hot.
Right.
Would you consider a cowl wall up there instead of a
Up here, up high here?
Yeah.
Certainly.
And
Yeah, I
it's
think
not-
that's a great
it's not
idea.
light going in.
So some kind of
it's getting-
diffused window that has a little bit more.
It doesn't heat up and it doesn't get any direct sunlight that's washing off the smart board.
Yep.
Well, they make them nicer now too.
There's other options too. That we
And the circulation and the heating and everything is going to be so much better, right?
Right.
So
Right. I mean, certainly we were.
some of this, we're speaking of experience because we have these old buildings.
Right. Right. So it'll all be zoned so that, you know, you won't have to heat up the whole building, or you can do one side differently than the other. So just another perspective view, and I brought the model that I can spin around if we want to look at. This is definitely the side that we've developed the furthest, but this is kind of looking basically from, I guess it would be the bus drop-off area, looking towards the school. Again, administration here, covered porch, front entry, and looking at the gym and kind of different ways we can treat the shared spaces in between. This was a larger window wall. And this option, we're kind of exploring the one kind of architectural feature that's at East Meadow is these, the marble entrances as you come into the doors. There's a splayed kind of 2 marble walls, the rest of it is flat brick. But we're kind of trying to take some of that aesthetic and apply it to these windows where you could, again, kind of have that angled wall. I don't know if we would make that of marble, probably not, but so again, just looking at the 2 different massing options.
You've got indestructible marble.
Any thoughts or strong feelings on those 2? There's handouts in front of you too if you want to compare the.
I like the slope roof myself.
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we proceed with option 2.
I second that motion.
I would just say, I like the slope roof too. I will tell you, if asked my opinion, I still struggle with this left corner, the gymnasium, the admin. It feels like if I could have my way, I'd find a way to connect the music and gym and get it close to the cafeteria, because my guess is we'll do more town functions here and utilize these kind of things, and they feel a little bit separate to me. Just, to me, it feels like it needs a little more thinking, and that's just me.
Right.
I don't know if the gym is the right way or if it needs to be turned a different way. That's my own opinion. The rest, I like option 2.
So that the public can use both of those spaces, potentially even at once.
Well, I think my guess is, and I could be wrong, but if you skip ahead 5 years, that may be the place where we do a town meeting at night, or, I don't know, or, that may be the place where concerts take place
Right.
for all ages,
Yeah.
even in high school, I don't know. But if you do that, do people have a place to congregate beforehand, before an athletic event or before a music event, and people are going to want to sell food and that kind of stuff? Is there a way that we can make that a little easier so the flow can work? And that's just me saying that. This is how I would use the
That's
building.
great, yeah.
But I don't know how others feel.
No, I mean, I think we've struggled with that because I agree, in a perfect world, Joe, I would have the gym right next to the cafeteria, but we also don't want to block off what little natural light is going into the cafeteria. So that's something that I think as we go forward, we'll do some daylight analysis and see about basically the whole new addition, how far north or south, which affects the size of the courtyard, but also affects how much daylight is getting into the cafeteria and how much circulation you need to get from one wing of the building to the other. I'm hopeful that the kind of expanded lobby space, the triangular space to the right of the gym, will definitely serve as a nice kind of entry area before going in there. And that's something that we're certainly thinking about, is that the music/stage will become a pretty important space. So I think, we would probably put more of an emphasis on making sure that the acoustics are working well in that space, and that we have chair storage in the gym than we would have otherwise, in a typical kind of gym setup.
Go back to Ken's comment, because I feel the same way.
Yeah.
I especially around the front entrance, I think there's so many roofs coming together here. You got 2 or 3 different areas. I think the concept is fine. Well, I really think you got to look at some of these roofs, the way they're all coming together. With avalanching snow coming off over that front entrance, and then 2 different areas, flashing, leaking. And I think that the roofs in the front entrance probably need to have a second look. It's just going too many directions.
It's a busy area.
Yeah, it's just, I don't have to call you back here a year later and tell you the roofs are leaking. They're going a lot of different directions. I just see problems around that front entrance.
Yeah.
I know you're emphasizing the entrance, but it's going in the opposite direction of all the other roofs, and that's just a problem.
Right.
I just think your concept is fine. I just think you need to look at that a little harder.
Yeah.
I really do. That's
Yeah.
a nightmare that we don't need.
I think one thing that option 2 does is it gives a natural barrier for the air handling units, which more so than a screen, because the screens these are big units, and if you see a screen up there, it's a screen hiding something. But this way they naturally hide behind the...
Right, so we kept the roof flat over that area right near the courtyard. I think that does a few things. One is hopefully we'll get some more daylight into that courtyard area, and 2, it does provide a nice place to hide our ERV units behind that slope roof.
I want to express what Jim was saying also on that roof going backwards on the entrance. Is just I think there's a number of ways to handle that that'll still give you the architectural feeling of knowing where the entrance is, that doesn't create problems down the line.
Yeah, great.
Well, this might be kind of an abstract question, but the angle of the windows in the shared spaces,
Yes,
are they going to all be at the same angle?
yes.
And,
So that angle was those are actually facing true due south.
okay.
So I think there'll be a fun way to kind of replicate that in the site in front and behind the building, so that we can kind of incorporate solar sun diagrams for the children, and kind of just get people aware of where due south is and north. And
Would the phys ed And administrative part be it same but opposite angle?
Yes. Exactly.
The other thing I look at, and I've got to maybe ask that you have a quick conversation with your estimator on what he thinks about the higher roofs on one scheme versus the other, but it definitely looks like your structural costs are going to be a little bit more significant on one versus number two versus number one.
Right. I think there'd be a way of, doing it with trusses that would still be fairly inexpensive, but certainly that's something we can discuss.
There's a premium there.
Yeah.
This would be, is it a couple percent for the premium, or is it a 5% or 10% premium? I don't know, but maybe we can just run it by PMC and see if they can give you a gut check on that.
Yeah. Great. So in terms of next,
Before we move on, there's
Yeah.
a motion on the floor.
oh, sorry.
Go forward with option two.
All right. Any more discussion on option 2?
I guess
An
I'm
option
in,
just what Alan just said, shouldn't we wait to see if there's, what the cost difference may be? Shouldn't we consider the cost at this point?
I would say that they could proceed with, and we come back next month with that information in hand, and then if it's still within budget, it's fine to proceed with that. Maybe the option number 1 is under budget from what we're carrying right now. That would be, I wanted to gauge it against what we had in there for the budget first.
Right. I think if we talk to our cost estimator and that percentage comes out, let's say at 10%, then
That we're within budget,
we would
or tone it down.
consider that very carefully.
I mean, if the estimator comes back and says that's a 20-25% increase
Right.
to go that way versus option 1, then I think we gotta, rethink what the rules look like.
But there's varying degrees you can do on this. You don't necessarily have to, you can still use the high windows on the classrooms and then do something different over the gymnasium and the front entrance and still get this thing back somewhat to cost.
Sure.
And maybe on cost right now, too.
You're right in your design, but I know you'd come up with something great.
They'd be different roofs though if that happened, right? You'd have a roll roof versus a tin roof or something, is that right? Or-
There's some options. I think the motion is, I understand the motion, is it just that we want you to proceed to refine this? We're not saying that it's 100% it until we see more information. Is that what the motion is?
Yeah, basically, I like the idea with the windows, the additional lighting, things of that nature, slope roof versus just a flat roof, things of that nature, Ken. That's what I'm basically looking at is go forward. Like you mentioned, the roof slope backwards over the entry, look at that, where all the different roofs are coming in at different angles. But I just like this idea better because it also hides the air handling units instead of having the ugly screen unit on the top when you look at option 1, which your eyes are drawn to immediately.
Yeah.
That's all. That's where I'm coming from. with it.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
Their charge is to design to budget, so. It is.
All right. All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? All right, it's unanimous.
Thank you.
Anybody want to ask anything?
Next steps, we've already gone through some of these with Alan going over the schedule, and we found from Chris that August 27th won't work, but we'd like to meet with the town department heads in the next few weeks. These meetings are pretty critical in terms of getting them on board. It really can help figure out some problems now. We want to find out, what their priorities are and what their requests are now during schematic design before we get that cost estimate in, that, what their plowing requirements are, what the fire department's requirements are in terms of, specific items where they want to go above and beyond code, or, areas that they want to focus on. It can really help get a better understanding of, requirements from the health department, et cetera. So hopefully that'll happen in the next couple weeks. And then, as we mentioned, that the room data sheet meeting with select teachers and staff, that will happen over 2 days. That's very important, and we won't only be meeting with teachers, but also with, gym teachers and maintenance folks and special education folks and, kitchen and cafeteria folks. So really getting a lot of input on the various programs that are happening in this building. And then our schematic design package goes to the cost estimators in early October, and cost estimate reconciliation after that. And then we have a little while, and I guess that kind of segues into our next topic of public outreach. But we have some flow kind of between when that reconciliation is and when the report's due to the MSBA. So that's great that we have that, and hopefully we can use that for some public outreach.
At the same time, that schematic design submission to the MSBA is fairly involved. So there's a lot of documents that have to be put together and assembled,
Right.
and vetted.
Yes. Or better not to rush that process.
Right.
So, based upon the October 20th reconciliation, would we want to move our meeting date to the 4th Thursday in October then? Which would be the 22nd versus the 15th?
I don't know if it's September, to be honest with you, because I haven't got to October yet. So, yes, it probably makes sense. Definitely makes sense to go to the 22nd. And the first Thursday is the first of October is a Thursday, so it would be the 4th.
Why don't we go through outreach before we Wouldn't we want to talk about our outreach procedure before we start changing meetings around?
Well, I'm just trying to coordinate because if the cost estimate reconciliation is on the 20th, we wouldn't want to meet the week before.
Yeah, I agree with you there.
That's all I'm saying. I'm just trying to get that so when you start talking your outreach, we know definite dates that we're going to be meeting. But I think one of the dates we're talking is October 21st is the full town leadership meeting. Okay, so we may want to work on that date a little bit too, Joe. I don't know. With these dates coming in now, these are refining. We weren't even looking at these dates when we were looking at them. So.
Do you guys have a fall town meeting that's already scheduled? Or typically, do you have one?
We schedule them as needed. So
Yeah, we can move from here to tomorrow.
that's what I'm saying. We can work this out amongst ourselves. I'm just saying is always have a concern with that October 20th. So that's all. That's all I was trying to say.
Okay. Joe, you want to take it away?
Yeah, so I'm going to use this as an update on outreach, but also use it as a working session because I think we've all been running hard and just trying to catch up with some things that we outlined. So thank you. So one of the first things that we wanted to get an update on was the flyers. And this is the first time I've seen it, so is there anything you guys want to talk about? It looks nice right here. You want to talk through on this, or?
Yeah. Well, we've got some input from the subcommittee, which was extremely helpful, and but we've made some modifications and.
Well, without looking at this,
Yeah.
I just realized as you were going through everything that we wrote in pre-K through 3 for the new building, and it looks like pre-K through 2, so I don't know if you changed that, but.
We have. So we changed that. We rearranged the order a little bit on some of the language that we got. We also included in the middle here, and this is, I guess, the part that I have the biggest concern on, or question on, not concern, but the cost information. I feel like that it might be helpful to give some rough budget numbers even before we get the cost estimate reconciliation, because I know that would be a question on people's minds, but that's a question that we wanted to bring to the committee. And then, other than that, we have some upcoming meeting dates where we just put in some blanks on the back there. And then we even had a question on what we should call it. So we called it the Granby Elementary School for now, but I don't know if that should be different. per the MSBA, West Street Elementary School, because that's what the statement of interest was for. But now that the construction is happening at the East Meadow site, it's a little bit confusing, so.
I don't know if we should put schools, even though we're looking at it as one cohesive, connected school, it really still is, we want people to realize they're separated.
Not really separate.
No?
No, I think we did
Call
talk
it one,
about
I
it.
think. It's
One school.
Yeah, I think it should be one, yeah, for a lot of reasons.
So is it fair to say that we have an opportunity to kick this around and make some changes, and then, what I do want to confirm though is we, if I remember correctly, and again, I'm on vacation, so, we talked about creating this and sending out 2 sets of flyers, right? That's what the minutes
Yeah,
said?
well, Lynn and I were working on, we sent them lists
Okay,
with nothing in it, and this is what we produced.
right.
This is great.
This is great, I think it's
You know how they're
great.
going.
Yeah, it was great.
They don't even, they don't worry about the label, I'm gonna mail it, we'll worry about the label.
Okay.
One of the things we talked about when we were doing this is that what would we actually want to hand something like this out on November 5th, even before we don't have a formal mailing? A question to ask, that would involve printing probably 300 or 400 more of these things. But you would have a different edition because on November 5th, you're not going to know exactly everything that the state is guaranteeing. Based on that schedule, they're not going to know until December 1st, and we're talking about having an output meeting, a public meeting on November 5th.
We will know what we're putting into the state, and so those numbers will be solid that go into the state for December 1st. Then it's just a matter of them approving those numbers or not.
We're talking about having a public meeting on November 5th.
But we know the numbers.
Okay, we know the numbers.
After our reconciliation, we know the project budget numbers.
If we know all that information, this would be the mailer sometime before Christmas holidays. And then after the holidays, it would just be a poster. That's
Matt, I don't have it.
Okay, that's fine.
We good, or, I can't
We're
concentrate on it.
running around down there.
All right, so can I just be clear? Let's be clear. We want to create a flyer, and we want to do what with it? Do we want to mail it, or do we want to hand it out, or do we want to do both? What do you want?
I thought we were doing both.
Me too.
Right?
Both.
And we talked about, you guys correct me if I'm wrong, did we talk about having this available so that when we go to the open houses in September, we can hand them out? And at the Council on Aging on November 5th, we can hand it out? And then also put it in the mail? Is that what we agreed to, or?
I thought the one we were gonna hand out was a little different than the one we were gonna mail out.
When we mail out, only we get more and more current information.
Okay.
Because if we're going to start handing these out in October or September, this information could come to quite change. So it'd be an upcoming thing. We'd get it,
Oh, we
in
just keep
September, we'd
updating.
have so many we need for a meeting.
Okay.
In October, we'd have so many for a meeting. And then November, when it's the final mailing, the final information would be inputted into
Okay.
it. That's how I understood.
All right.
But I could be corrected.
Is there also a way that this could be made into a web user-friendly format? Because a six-sided brochure like this does not read well electronically.
Sure.
If this is a handout, would we want to go with something larger? My first reaction is this awful tiny. To try and read all this information, where if you put it into 11 by 17 folded, and it's a handout and not mailed, maybe a little more user friendly. Anybody else have the same feeling, or it's just
Well, it
me?
started out as 11 by 17, half by 11.
Right,
When we did it, it was an 8.5 by 11.
right.
So it might, isn't going to cost any more to mail it either way.
Oh, we'll just change it. So in pre-K to 32nd grades.
Wow, we just saw that.
Right.
I guess the only observation I might make is you might want to think about how many times you change it. You might want to make a couple of major distribution points, because if the thing is constantly evolving and changing, people are going to get really confused and say, oh my God, they don't know what the heck they're doing. So if you've got a couple of dates already in mind where you want it, like maybe it's introduce the project, then when we have the numbers, that's when you do the big push. But I don't know when you want to put information out there and what kind of information you want to put out. But I guess that's my own sort of observation about continuously changing it. It could get really confusing for people.
Well, I think that's a good point.
Well, and I think, again, using the website and directing people to the website, you know, for example, if I could get an electronic file with a floor plan or something like that, and I can put that up there and say, here's a preliminary floor plan. It's easy to take it down off of the webpage versus how many versions of this might be floating around town and who's got what and who thinks what is what. Yeah, you could get some confusion. So, whether or not you want to go to print right away or have some sort of brochure that directs people to go to the school's website. If we wanted to do the parent nights, we certainly could set up some sort of computer station so that people could see the webpage. Because I haven't populated it yet because I was waiting for the conversation to happen. So.
What night are the parent nights, or do you recall?
East Meadow is September 10th. West Street is the 16th and the high school is the 17th.
Thursday, Wednesday, Thursday.
So at one point, we were pushing to have these available so that we could, you know, when we get to the PTO or the parents' night, we would have something that we could hand out. So I would open it up. Is it worth having these available to hand out at least at these 3 events and perhaps whatever events that we are involved with in October? In addition to posting something on the web, on that school website?
Yeah, I guess here, my only concern with paper copies, I think, as you're saying, Ellen, is that you get multiple versions out there. There's going to be a lot of confusion around from the public as to what.
Well, I think when we started designing this, we were really intending this to be the one that was going to be mailed out, because we had, one of these had the address on it. But why can't we put similar information in just a sheet like this to be handed out at all these meetings, rather than a brochure?
With the URL right on it so that people could go there and
Minimal, you know, not so detailed information, because you're going to say that in your speeches when you have your outreaches.
You know, something just more simple and,
That way they won't confuse this
yeah, with
this.
Right.
And when you come down to it, you have a firm plan at that point, sort of get the mass brochure out there. And then you know that everybody's got the same version of the thing and you're not worrying about who's got what.
Like if we just focused on like what is at stake, the left-hand side where it says proposal. If you skip the whole cost and plan, so I think the new version's old is good. You're not going to change it in there.
Right.
And then the benefits on the back, minus you decide whether the drawing rendering appears or not, but the benefits are not going to change. You know, we're the same benefits we have today that we'll have in 4 months. And then nothing's going to get changed on that, except added to it.
Right.
The costs and the votes and all that kind of thing.
But I mean, you might be able to do a one-page thing so that the one page gets differentiated from your trifold.
Right.
So if you get the one-page thing, that's the old thing. The trifold, that's the most recent thing.
And then
That would
on there,
just be
say
my
the
only
date, you
concern.
know, say
Yeah.
the dates, town meeting and
Yep.
town vote, period, simple.
If you really wanted to just direct people to a website, you could print up business cards. We've done that on other projects I've worked on.
With
And
even
it's
a
just
QR reader.
literally, right,
that-
just sends you to the website for the most up-to-date. And it just gives you the basics.
And do a
That's just
QR scan you know,
another way to
on
do
the
it.
card or on the flyer, so somebody could just snap it with their phone and boom, you're there.
Yeah, but we'd still gotta have the old-fashioned handout. Still gotta, you
People
know.
don't all go in the van.
Because, yeah, we're not,
But
not
again,
everybody's too tech savvy. And I was at the soccer field today and told somebody I was leaving and just go to the school building committee meeting. And they're like, "Oh, what's going on?"
Yeah.
I had no idea. She has a child. Of course, that's why she's at soccer field.
As long as she wasn't fine, that's fine.
But again, at the parent nights, we could certainly hook up a computer to a monitor, so the website could be up and on a big screen, you know.
But I do agree, I do think having a handout also is.
Yeah, oh yeah,
important.
yeah.
And I said, and of course I said to her, I said, well, let me tell you what's going on. And
Yeah.
I literally, it took 3 minutes to,
Right.
you know, put it in words and then she was like, oh, okay, great, done. So a handout that's real simple with just the basics, and the website, which we can get, like you said, intricate and details and diagrams, and it's easy to change.
Yeah, because if anything changes in terms of any of the drawings, you just pull one
Right.
file off and put another one up. That's pretty easy.
So I think we're talking about a consensus in which we have an 8x10 flyer, right? Everything probably on one side. That is probably most of this information with a link to the school website and some
Get that
upcoming
page
dates.
live.
Right, that we would want sooner rather than later so we can hand out at the upcoming open houses in September. This we still want, but we want to flush out the tax impact and that stuff. And this, I think we're saying we're going to mail after the first of the year. Is that what we're thinking? To get prepared for the
Did you
upcoming
say
vote?
flush out the tax impact? What do you need, to take that off of the brochure?
No. We'll know as the year end approaches.
Oh, we'll know
sense.
better
So-
what it is.
So this is fine. I think this is really nice, actually. But we would actually fill in numbers and
Right.
maybe have this be a mailer.
I thought we had that in November,
Well, we did. So the question, but I noticed that this is talking, it makes reference to the special town meeting.
and
So
that's okay. Keep
So-
that's the date. Is that the
Yeah.
date? Yeah. So,
Yeah, we
Mail
can
it
start
November
talking
and-
about
and then mail it again with a postcard in January,
Okay.
reminding them of the town
All right.
meeting.
So I better write this down, right?
Yeah, and isn't there 2 meetings, isn't it? There's 2 meetings. There's the town meeting, that you have to go and get it on the ballot, and then there's the vote.
Right.
So shouldn't we write from the get-go with the first
Educate
handout,
everybody,
educate the 2 meetings and explain that? You gotta go to both, not
Yeah.
just one.
Well, the second one's not really a meeting, it's just going
A
on the
vote,
ballot. yeah.
right. Well, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
Like, we can put that out there right now as the very important piece of this. Is that, like, how can I help? Well, this is how you're gonna help.
So Jim and Lynn, you guys worked on this flyer, right? You gave some information. Can you guys do the next iteration for our flyer? Can you work with these, Alan and so forth?
Say yes.
Sure.
Yeah, and then just shoot me what you've come up with, so I make sure the website is consistent with what you're doing.
And if we have edits to this, do we get the edits back to you and Jim? Any suggestions, or do we want to spend time going through it now as a team?
And that's fine, sending them back, we're gonna need them within a week.
Yeah, so can we all make a commitment to
Gotta-
try to do around ASAP?
Yeah, because in my experience, if we were to start going through this, we'd be here.
Right.
Yeah.
So let's agree on a date where we're all going to get any feedback we have back to Jim.
Well, can we just touch base on a couple things?
Sure.
On the back page of it, we have upcoming meeting dates.
Right.
All meetings held at Granby Town Offices, 15 North Granby Road. Where's North Granby Road?
Christian made that up.
Fill in the blank.
You just need-
But are we holding them at Granby Town Offices, or are we holding them at East Middle School, or where are we holding these?
I would say East Meadow School, because you want to get people used to coming to the site.
Okay,
Well,
wait a minute,
yeah, we gotta-
wait a minute. This wouldn't even be on the fly, and are you,
I guess I'm getting confused about the meeting dates and stuff that we're
these
talking.
meeting dates, what are we talking about? The whole point of this flyer was not to tell people about a meeting date, it was to tell them about the special town meeting.
Okay.
So,
So town meeting, we already got scheduled, and
it's on the front, yeah, what the front of it, but it's.
But it's not at 14 West Street.
That's
it's
what-
at-
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And don't forget, there needs to be a spot here for the address. So really, this whole part of the flyer that you're looking at is gonna be
Mailing.
different.
Yeah.
So this was, so I wouldn't worry about this, but yeah, so in general, where are these meetings that we're gonna hold being held?
so I'm also seeing, an email address, which obviously will,
School building at Granby?
well, yeah, I mean, we have to do at GranbySchoolsMA.net, and we just have to populate who's going to monitor that email. She asked.
You're looking at it good.
That's what I was afraid you were gonna say. But if and when I get a secretary back full-time, I could give that person obviously the ability to go in and print out stuff and whatever.
All right,
So I can get David to create an email address.
Yeah. So I think we have to go page by page real quick. Are we okay with Granby Elementary School? Anybody have any comments on that? I'm fine with it.
That's fine. Yeah.
Are we only going to advertise the special town meeting on February 2016? Do we actually have a date for it, or is we actually have time to flush out this flyer, don't we?
Let's
Because we're
let's just cut it out. We have 10, 20, 15 minutes and we're done with it. Go.
So where will
What's
special
next?
town meeting be?
Probably at Dr. High School. 'Cause
385
it's-
East State Street.
Yeah, 385.
Working on
East
the
State
working
Street.
on the handout.
This is the flyer, not the handout. The handout, you guys have the information you need, right? So you guys are going to put that together.
So for the flyer, sorry, let me back up. We put upcoming meeting dates because we did talk about having various public outreach meetings at the last school building committee meeting. We talked about whether they should be here or whether they should be at the East Meadow School. I don't think anything was set in stone, but it seemed like if we're going to have these public outreach meetings, it would be good to get them in the handout that's going out in September so that people are able to make those in the next few months.
Like I say, if I can get a graphic from you and at least some base text that I make sure I'm thinking that I can probably get the website populated next week and get it up. I do, can I get it, put it out there, you know, put it out on my blog, put it out, however I can put it out.
Well, the only meeting we had for the outreach that I have for the date was November 5th, public outreach.
At the Council on Aging.
So upcoming meeting date,
We were going to do that at the Council on Aging.
so 7 PM, November 5th.
So,
Council of Aging.
Are we going in two directions?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're all over the place.
Didn't we just say 2 minutes ago, we were gonna edit this, so this becomes the mailer, the flyer is mailed, and there's gonna be a second one, it's gonna have other information in it now. Did I miss something here?
No, you got
No, you got it.
Good, so we don't need these things.
it, right.
correct.
Start on the
But
front
we need
page
some of
again.
the information from it to
Start
populate
on the
the
front page again,
Yeah.
and put down the town meeting. That's the only thing that goes on the front page, elementary school.
So let's treat this as only the flyer, the mailer right now, and not worry about the handout.
And then should we also put the vote on the front page of the mailer?
Well,
Yeah,
you don't get to the vote if it's not passed at
Yeah,
town
but-
meeting.
yeah, I don't think that'll,
He's asking that we put the date on it.
I would.
Yeah, why
No,
not? Wait a minute, wait a
We
minute.
might
Wait,
not
why
get
not?
to the vote.
I
if
know,
the
but-
special town meeting doesn't apply.
Well, because we're not gonna be using this at that point, number one, if it passes town meeting, there's gonna be plenty of publicity. People are gonna know that they gotta go to the ballot box to vote. I don't think that's gonna be an issue, so.
So let me make this recommendation. Given that we don't need this flyer right away, it's less critical, let's not worry about it. We're not going to throw it away, we are going to use it. But do we need to edit it now and get it ready?
I don't think we should edit it, the only thing I think we should do is discuss any, like, content stuff. Like, because if we start picking on, okay, here's, you know, a wording problem, here's a wording problem, we'll never get done, but if there is a content issue, I think we could deal with that now and then send our comments to Lynn or Jim. Does that make sense?
Okay.
Because anytime I've ever had tried to edit something with a group of people, it takes forever and it's really not.
So, from a website perspective, I'm guessing we want those 3 bullets about what is at stake, the bullets around what is being renovated, what is being new, and then the business on the back, the benefits of.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So I can
Yeah.
start to, yeah, and I may shorten them so that they're shorter bullets and not quite the wording.
Okay, any other significant edits to this flyer? You know, the last 15 minutes have not been a highlight for me. I'm gonna recognize that right now, right? I'm kidding, I'm kidding.
You're taking feedback. That's okay. It's all good. It's all good.
Okay,
Just got confusing because we're talking about
yeah, right.
different
Yeah, two
things.
things, yeah. So I can at least start to talk about that.
But Lynn, can I be clear though? We are gonna have a special town meeting, and we are gonna have a date. So is there any
Is it
reason?
not on here?
It says February.
It just says
February.
February.
It should say February, and I put that on mine.
And it might be too early, we can adjust it
No, no, that's
as we get.
In our schedule, we called out
We've been
February
saying
8th.
February 8th
February 8th.
on this schedule.
So for now, we can put that in there, and
Yep.
if
And
if for some reason it
the
changes.
the proposed vote is March 1st. If we go by the schedule that we've been going by on this.
The other thing is that's gonna be a big election day. It's,
That's presidential primary.
Yeah.
Yeah, we will, okay,
So put it on there, anyway, because it's being held regardless.
right,
Right.
okay. So are we done with the flyer for now? We're gonna, make some final edits and then get ready. The brochure, Jim and Lynn are gonna work on.
Yeah, and I will
The
have,
one page ready and we can have printed, and we're gonna get, do we have any comments that we need to get to them? I don't think so, right? You have what you need?
Just want to get everything out of here.
Right, so we're good.
Work on that. You think we have all the Just keep going back and
That's
back,
agreed.
saying the same stuff.
And we will need, I'm looking to you guys, I assume Kim is up for us.
What happens is we just type it out, get some information. These folks do a little magic when it comes back.
How many do you think we need for these 3 open houses, of these flyers?
What are the dates?
It's 500 a month.
Jim, what did we do for flyers on the last round that we were handing stuff out? Remember, did we do about 2,000, 1,500 mailed them? Remember you had them and you were handing them out?
Well, mail, those are the ones we mail to.
Maybe it's
But I
500.
think for the handout, I think it was about 1,000 for that, wasn't it?
well, I mean, we've got 816 kids,
That's what we did.
you know, representing
Right there.
So we're looking at probably about 1,000.
500.
Yeah,
For handout, for handout.
I told
For
you
the
500.
handout.
So,
1,000 for the hand.
I go 1,000 for the
Saying,
sake. Because you're gonna break them up amongst different people. You don't want someone to run out, one not to run out.
It's 3 open houses.
Okay. Thank you guys, appreciate it.
What are the dates of the open houses?
the 10th is East Meadow.
East Meadow?
It's and they're called parent nights, just so you know. The 16th is West Street School, and the 17th is Granby Junior Senior High School. And, school calendar, we put it up, and you take the time, because they're all a little bit different.
You were listed to do all of them, Joe? There's a sheet
Well,
there, we'll go over that.
That's another topic, just who's prepared to speak with this.
I'm always willing to speak, but I don't feel like I have to be the only one. What are we talking about?
We're trying to get the times for the open houses, and then we're gonna.
Yeah, my only problem will be, one of them is probably gonna coincide with my own open house, which I can't skip, unfortunately.
At a beginning meeting before they go to the classrooms,
Always, yeah.
everybody's having that.
All in there at one time, and then they break off to
So what time is your West Street at?
6:30.
6:30? Do we know when?
Getting there.
Is East Meadow though, at East Meadow, do they split it up?
I think this year she's gonna do it all together and
Altogether,
split
one
like I do.
Like West Street, okay.
You said yours is 6:30, or was it East Meadow? 6:30.
Joe,
I'm sorry?
are we inviting them?
Nah.
How much time will we have?
I don't have much.
I don't think so. My gut tells me one of us can get up for 5 minutes, say a few words, and have a flyer that we hand out, and maybe take a couple questions, and then point people to the website.
Then we want them to come November 5th.
Right,
Right.
Oh,
Yeah.
sure.
Wait a minute, November 5th, I think it was senior center
right.
It's here.
for the seniors, the lunch.
That should be during the day, right?
Yeah, it's gonna be during the day.
Um,
Because you and I were just talking about that.
Yeah.
We were talking the October 21st one.
Yeah, stated all-purpose thing,
Right.
21st.
I'm confused.
Right, you don't.
Can I see that, October
You
21st?
got this one here with the big all-town leadership.
We're not gonna put that on our flyers though, are we?
No,
We should-
no,
Right,
no,
because only invited members.
Oh, right.
So you guys will be on that one.
What time is the October 21st? Roughly?
7 o'clock.
7 p.m.
Well, that was the one we were questioning
Yeah, we still
because of
haven't
the
decided,
October
yeah.
20th
Right.
date, now that's sitting here.
And then the November 5th would be during the day.
Probably at the lunchtime here.
But we should come to that and we would have time to run through a PowerPoint presentation.
Yeah, the old folks like it when people.
I don't think so.
That's a senior citizen,
Yeah.
it's a senior citizens, yeah.
I think if we have a couple of your slides to show the schematics and who would like to do the open house at East Meadow on September 10th? Is there anybody that would like to speak for 5 minutes and be prepared? Or we probably need a few people to hand out flyers, but anybody want to drive that? Okay. And on West Street on the 16th at 6:30, anybody want to do that?
What time is he now?
I don't know yet, Judy's trying to find time.
Yeah.
6:32, I think you're.
I have 6:15 for that one.
Please, ma'am?
Yep. 6:30 for West Street and 6 o'clock for the junior senior high.
Okay. And do they have for junior, senior, do they actually do any sort of,
That I don't know, but I can find that out from John.
okay, so West Street, does anybody want to do the West Street at 6:30?
I'm gonna be there anyway. If you want a PTO, I should just do it.
You want to do it?
Sure.
All right. And we may need at least one or two other people to be there to support and hand out flyers. The high school on the 17th,
I'm not doing that.
you're going to do it? Sure. Beautiful, okay. Great,
Just because
okay.
I love the joke.
All right.
I have a question for the whole committee. I didn't do the PSA, the public service announcement yet. I'm going to do it tonight after this meeting. I have this great rhetoric script here that Joe, and I'm basically going to read off of it. But one of the things I noticed that was missing was we talked about all the benefits and bonding rates borrow incredibly low, blah, blah, blah. We did not mention that there's going to be a tax increase.
Right.
I think I should mention that. No?
Well, what we decided last time was we wanted one script, and we were going
Yeah.
to carry that script out through all of these different venues. We didn't want
Right.
to create different scripts. So at one point, that was the script that we created
Right.
for the June 3rd meeting.
So
Yeah, we were
now,
pushing.
as we've evolved, so the question to the group is, what should I add to the script? My personal opinion is that, of course, we're not supposed to, in order to be transparent and always upfront, we should just say, and, one sentence, by the way, the tax, is this going to affect the tax 8 to 10% or 7 to 9?
I wouldn't put a number to it.
No, whatever you.
Or this just a tax increase? I just feel like it's,
I personally think you stick with that script, and in the next script, which we're going to talk about shortly, what do we talk about in September, October? Maybe we'll know more, and maybe people are going to be comfortable talking about finances. I don't know. That's
People are
my-
gonna know there's a tax increase.
yeah, but why not just say it then? It's so obvious. Why not just say it? Why not put it in there and say, and there'll be a tax increase to the town? Just like, when I'm in this mode here talking about all the financial benefits, why wouldn't you just say there'll be a tax increase? It just seems like, especially if you think everybody knows it.
Well, let me ask you, turn the question around and say, why would you bring it up? We're not really,
Because it's honest and it's true and real. I mean,
well, I
I feel like
there's gonna be a tax increase.
that's politics not to want to talk about it.
No, I just don't think it's understood. I mean, we've been through this before. You don't get it for free. It doesn't really matter to me, but I don't think it's necessary. We want to focus on another aspect of the project
Right.
before we start getting into the money stuff. People are gonna.
No, so should we eliminate all the money and stuff?
Bonding rates to borrow are incredibly low. It makes financial sense to take advantage of low bonding rates and MSBA reimbursement while taking care of both schools. There will be a tax increase. I mean, do you see what I'm saying? Like, we're talking about all this financial stuff.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to, you feel free. I think you can say we'll know more clearly as the
Yeah, I
project
don't,
develops.
I feel like I'm a very upfront, direct kind of person. Like, this is, I know you think it's obvious, but why not just say it then?
Fine.
It's so obvious.
And I think my recommendation would be, if you want to say that, further it by saying, as we get deeper into the project, we're going to have more refined estimates, and we'll be in a position to communicate what we think the ranges might be.
I wouldn't say bonding rates are low unless you're planning to borrow tomorrow.
So you think we should eliminate that sentence?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, it depends in comparison to,
No comparison to when the taxes are going to go up.
Comparison, I guess,
but relatively speaking, if you were to compare bonding rates versus.
Relatively speaking, is not going to mean anything to anybody.
Right.
The relativity is when they're going to have to go for a tax increase.
And
It's going to be higher than that.
I think the first thing is, just to follow what Andrea said 5 minutes ago, there are people going around who live in town now who still don't have any idea of this, which is, it is what it is, so hopefully let's attack that so that
Right.
no one should be walking around saying, I don't know anything about this.
Okay,
That's the
so
first
you're,
goal.
so you're doing that today, is that?
Yeah,
correct?
tonight.
Great.
So I will take that bonding rate sentence out of there. I think it's a little too much anyways. But there is a whole section here, including a renovation is cost effective and beneficial. And then we talk about the cost, the range, the higher reimbursement because of renovation. So in that area is when I'll just stick in the Granby residents' taxes will increase.
Okay.
And more details will follow. Just something like, because remember at PTO too, the lady was like, how important it is to be informational and not vote for this,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
So it's informational.
right.
And if you don't say it, is hiding the truth is not a transparent way to be.
Okay.
So, yeah, I feel like it's one negative thing about this whole project. It's negative. It's not, no one likes that, but that's why it should be in there, because it's honest.
Okay, good. So that's gonna get done. The school website, once you get the PDFs or whatever, you're gonna post. We talked about a press release. Do we want to do one? Do we need to do one?
I don't know what we want to do it on. I mean, I can take a press release out of that anyway, I suppose. But, I mean,
Actually, we're gonna do a press release on the fact that the school building committee, is gonna have representatives at each of the parent nights,
It could be something similar like that, right?
and what the dates of the parent nights are, get it released into the second.
Oh, can you put that in your chalk talk?
The Talk Truck is going on electronically this year.
Okay, so you're gonna put, it doesn't need to be anything big, right?
I get some big time budget concerns.
November, just a couple more things real quick, guys. November 5th.
Press release?
It sounds like Mark is going to put together a small press release that just keeps this thing visible in the Sentinel, and he's going to make references to various upcoming open houses.
At this stage, the purpose of the press release is just to make sure everybody knows there is a school building right.
Yeah, right.
Anything else is peripheral.
Exactly, right. The Council on Aging at noon, we need somebody to come and update. Anybody willing, or can anybody do that?
when is this?
I think it's a Thursday, is that right? The 5th?
November 5th.
Anybody available to,
I won't be at work, so I don't think, so maybe I could be here.
did you do it?
I could help out.
All right, great.
Hopefully somebody else. It's always best to have more than one.
Let's have an entourage.
All right, so we talked about a meeting on the 21st of October. This is a fall town leadership meeting. We did the first one in the spring. We talked about doing another one in October. It would not just be for the purpose of the school, but we could use that as a venue to update town leaders and the public on the status of the school project. So the agenda is to follow. I got to connect with you and the other select board members to flush out the agenda. And again, this is not just a meeting for the school. There are other things that are going to get discussed at the town meeting, but at the town leadership meeting, but it will be a great opportunity to update that group of people and the public on the status of the schools. That may be a place where we could use you. If this meeting sticks, and I still got to get with Chris and we got to decide if the 21st is the right date in light of this.
Is that in place of the 16th or in addition to the 15th?
It's a different meeting. I think the 16th was our normal school building committee meeting.
Yep.
We're
So this
talking
is
about
a-
moving that to the 22nd.
It would have been the 15th, that's moving to the 22nd.
That's what we're talking. Because the third Wednesday in October is the 15th. And we're thinking of making it the fourth Thursday in October, so we can have this reconciliation, and so we can look at it and discuss it.
So it'll be after that.
So we may want to do the 28th, which would be a week after the 21st.
Right.
Instead of the 21st?
So are we first of all are we moving our October meeting?
Our
to the
October meeting
22nd?
date is being moved from the 15th to the 22nd.
All right, so that's a definite. And now the question is,
The town leadership, do we want to have our meeting and then come in, after having fully discussed this,
Right.
to come into the town leadership meeting and have start having definite numbers
On the 28th.
on the 28th, because they'll answer Mr. Hartley's questions that he raised at some of the other, at the last public outreach meeting. Maybe we'll have some numbers from our bond council, the bank, fiscal advisor, so on and so forth. So we can start having some numbers together as to what we're looking at for numbers, borrowing rates, so on and so forth.
okay,
How long do you think it would take to finish to?
All you need to do is know the numbers we're talking.
so can you have to check to see if the 28th will work for us, right?
I haven't scheduled anything. in.
Right, no, I know.
We can do it if you want.
Okay,
I haven't put the 21st out as any date yet, Joe.
right.
Okay,
Got it.
so
What time is that meeting?
I think we did our last one at
7 o'clock.
Was it 7 we
Yeah,
did it?
yeah.
We can make it 6:30, we can make it whatever date people want.
Yeah, now, what I had spoken to you about is whether we can pull this off or not, I don't know, but I did speak to the folks at the American Legion, and they are willing to sort of donate a buffet dinner for the town leaders, not for the public, but for the town leaders, if we decide that we want to use that as a way of getting people there, so we can still flush that out.
This has got to be an open meeting.
It's gotta be,
Yep.
I mean, the public can come, but they can't eat.
Well, you have the meal before the meeting.
Yeah, the meeting's at 7 o'clock, so we're not meeting at 7.
You can just say, buffet available 6:30, something like that. 6:30.
Tell us, you can't eat. I know.
Told them worse.
Okay. So the 22nd would be our normal school building committee meeting, and then the 28th would be another venue to open up to the public and town leaders to get them updated on the most current status. So we'll need you at both of those. And then a couple other quick things. We talked about the Lions Club, when we would want to do that.
They'll do that either middle October or first meeting or second meeting or first meeting in November. I'll take care of that.
Okay, got it. And then we still had question marks with, we had Granby music parents.
Yeah. Am I a member of that camp group?
I have your name next to it. It doesn't mean anything.
You're only a member if you.
Do they meet? Do they have meetings?
Yeah, but I
No.
don't, to be honest with you, I'm not sure that, we have like 3 people there.
Okay,
I don't know that it would be worthwhile.
so just cross it off then?
Yeah. Technically, anybody who has a kid in band belongs, but
Yeah.
they have it's small.
Do we want
So
to?
you'll hit them at any of the parent meetings.
Right, exactly.
Any of the parent meetings.
Call it the president. Like that. Figuratively speaking. Okay.
We had question marks with regards to Twitter, Facebook, Mass Live, Channel 22, we had question marks, whether we want to do anything.
In terms of Twitter, we have a Twitter feed.
How many followers do you
Um,
On the Twitter feed or just in general?
have? On
Good
Twitter.
question. Once I start doing snow days, I'll get like after high school.
For Facebook, I would just suggest using the Granby Town Meeting thing. Anybody who wants can post something, but I don't know, about 275 people on there now.
Okay.
And if it's just if it's good news, you can also post on Good News Granby. Jennifer will take anything down that's like negative, but she's probably got like 800 people on that.
Right now I have 16 followers, but I'm trying to push.
Okay.
And sometimes I, tag people on this as well.
You know what, Judy, maybe all you do on Twitter is come to our website for information.
Yeah,
and then
exactly,
on a
right, that's a good
proposal.
idea.
Right,
Yeah.
right, yeah, because
So
you only
like-
got 120 characters to say what you mean, so, yeah.
Is there anything else that we're missing on outreach at this point? I know this was a little clumsy, I apologize, but
No, that's,
do we feel, is
you're
there anything else that
covering
we're missing?
all the bases right now.
Okay. All right, great, thank you.
Right, good. Anything else? Any other business to come before the committee? We don't have a clothing allowance, by the way.
Okay, we still are meeting the third Thursday in September.
17?
We're still meeting that day.
That's a high school parents.
That's
night.
it's high school parents'
Oh,
night.
right.
No, we're not.
Oh, and you know what, I may have conflict with that. I just looked at the
I can
calendar.
find.
Pushing off a week won't hurt anybody.
I think the 17th, I think I have my open house. But
Yeah, and
So
that's what I have.
We wanna go
to
I go to high
24th?
school, so I'd like to find, okay.
24th then?
24th, September?
At 6:30? Here,
Of
Mark?
course. No, it'll be at East Meadow.
we'll do it at East Meadow now that,
It should be cool by
if
then.
it's 95, yeah.
Plus we'll have night custodians back in.
Close it up, split will go to the building.
Yeah, but John will be at the high school, so I need to send him somewhere else. Buying the pizza. Doing anything else, so.
You want a journal? Jeez. Okay, motion adjourned?
So moved.